Hi there, welcome to ShopCast number 12. This one is all about one of our suppliers, Pollika. It kind of ties into what I did last week about buttons because Pollika has been supplying us with buttons and shawl pins. And after my podcast last week, we got a whole bunch more in. So first of all, the buttons. Oh, and that was the sound of some shawl pins dropping, unfortunately. Buttons of goodness. Okay, so you can see that these, I'm not showing the flash very well, but these are wood buttons and they have mother of pearl accents in a lot of them. And they're fabulous. They range from being some fairly small and straightforward ones to being the giant kind of, they look awesome on the big bulky cowls. They're cool. Price range for the buttons are from $4.75 to about $7 for the bigger ones. And, and of course the nicest one fell off. And this, there we go, in front of the camera, always helps, is their new line of really, there we go, awesome shawl pins. And here's the last one that I grabbed. And these guys range in price from $18 to $26, just kind of based on the complexity and the shape. We'll have a guideline showing you which shape costs what when you come into the shop in the next couple of days. We've had a lot of their shawl pins. You might have seen them in the store before. They're the brightly colored wood ones, and they come with the stick pin that you can just overlap and thread through. But these ones kind of just bump it up a notch, and they're really, really gorgeous. But the other cool and exciting thing about what these folks have done is they're starting to bring in yarn, and it's awesome. Okay. First of all, isn't that amazing? So multicolored sock yarn. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 colors, and this is now the most economically priced sock yarn in the shop. For $13.95, that's $14, you get a pair of socks. And this is a wool and nylon blend. It's 75% superwash and 25% nylon. So for those of you who like a little bit more nylon in your socks to prevent as much wear through in the toes and heels, this is a good one for you. And it's called Knit Global. It is supplied by Pollika to us. They recommend using a 2.25 to 3.25 millimeter needle, getting about 28 to 32 stitches depending on what needle size you use. And they're pretty. So lots of colors to choose from there. They will be up in the sock corner just behind me. But the thing that we're really excited about are these luscious, luscious, luscious yarns. Now, they may look plain and boring, but what you don't know yet is that these are from bunnies for the most part. So we're looking at super, oh my god, it's angora. So coming from angora rabbits, and they are kept nicely. They are plucked for their hair. They actually like it because it's part of their shedding process and the renewal of the hair on their bodies. It's just a natural thing. And we have it in a whole bunch of different weights. So this is the chunky. It's amazing. And 109 yards. Of course, we're now missing price tags. I believe it's $17.95 for 109 yards of angora. 100% angora. Just amazing. Now this one is chunky alpaca. It's similar in that it's just got that wonderful squishiness, though I do think the angora takes it up a notch. What angora tends to do is bloom. I'll show you that in a minute in Francesca's sample. I'm just I'm so excited about the angora. I am babbling away like an idiot, I know. And this is a DK weight. It is 225 meters for $34.95, so it's a little bit more. And we have Laceweight angora, $17.95 for 400 meters. So if you're looking at doing something really wonderfully soft around your neck, this is the stuff to use. So what Francesca is working on is, I think it's called the Burberry-inspired cowl. But you can see big, loose, luscious, drapey cables. She's left this here in the hopes that I will Kitchener stitch it for her, and I probably will. She's done me a lot of grand favors, so I promised her I would do all of her finishing for a year. But you can just, it's amazing. They actually warned me not to wear this over my dark t-shirt. You might not be able to see this, but it is indeed shedding. We will be trying some various things to kind of combat that. I suggested Francesca take it for a tumble in her dryer just on cool fluff, and she said that nothing came out into the filter at all. She's now going to knit a little swatch and try giving it a quick full, which means to put it in some hot and soapy water with a little bit of agitation. We normally call that felting, but in technical terms it's fulling. Felting is where you just have loose fibers and you're compacting them, but when we knit something up and then throw it in the wash to shrink it, that's called fulling. Blah, blah, blah jargon. But she's going to see if she can full her sample swatch a little bit, just to try and keep the looseness of the hairs from overtaking when you do wear it with something dark. Why does it happen? Well, talking about spin structure again. Okay, it's floating around in the air in front of me, which is hilarious. So angora, part of the reason why it's so soft is it doesn't have very many scales along the length of each fiber of each hair, so they don't tend to interlock very much. Now, in order to make something that is a fluffy, lofty yarn, you don't put a whole lot of twist in it, because that would make it really hard and much more durable and less likely to pill, or in this case, just shed. But it doesn't make it quite as luxurious and delightful against your skin. So the payoff is that these wonderful soft fibers don't interlock to each other quite as well, and they just work their way out fairly quickly. Now, the interesting thing is the spin structure between, on camera, there we go, that's the chunky, and that's the DK. The DK, even looking at the outside of it, there's much less of a haze around it. I'm actually really looking forward to working with the DK because I think it's going to make something fantastic, and based on its spin structure, I expect it to shed less. Not none, but less. So I'll try that out and let you know how it goes. But anyway, this is... I don't know if she's going to get it back. It's like, I'm sorry, Francesca, something horrible happened to your cowl. Yeah, no, I'm not like that. The last couple things that we have are, this is the equivalent of Kid Silk Haze, but again, incredibly inexpensive. For $17.95, you get 500 meters of 70% mohair and 25% silk. So mohair comes from goats, and the mohair goats have these long ringlets. They're really cool. If you go on Google and search for an image of a mohair goat, it's kind of like a Rastafarian dreadlocky goat. They're awesome. And the wonderful thing about all of these fibers, they come in their undyed state. And that's part of the reason why Pollika is able to give us such a good deal on these, is because they haven't gone through the extra process and expense of dyeing. But it means that we can either use them in their wonderful cream state, or if you want to try playing with dyes, you can dye it yourself. Really simple. Kool-Aid dye or food coloring dye with a little bit of vinegar added. These both work. If you go to Knitty.com and take a look in some of their back features, they will have instructions on how to go about using Kool-Aid or the food coloring. It's really similar to what professional dyers use in terms of a chemical dye plus some acid, which is in the form of vinegar if you're doing food coloring, or if you're using Kool-Aid all by itself, it already has citric acid in the mix, which is awesome. If you're following us on Facebook, a couple days ago, I posted a photo of one of our customers who had used Kool-Aid and food coloring to dye some Magnum yarn before she knitted up into a great, amazing hood. So that's something that you can play with. You might, for your first experiment, want to grab some less expensive Cascade and give that a whirl, but since you're just using things that are food safe anyways, you can go ahead and use this in just one of your regular cooking pots on top of the stove, or if you do a little bit more research, you can learn how to do microwave dyeing. I have a microwave at home that has on labeling in big letters, not safe for food. I was using regular chemical dyes, and I thought I would just heat up the water a little bit with the acid powder, or the chemical dye powder already in it to help it dissolve, and my Pyrex mixing bowl actually shattered in the microwave. Who has that happen? It's so strange. But so I'm lucky enough to have a dye set up at home, but just in terms of playing around with this yourself, go ahead and give it a shot with some Kool-Aid. It's kind of cool, and then you can start playing with color mixing and getting into that whole art school experimentation thing, and it'll be awesome. All right, last thing I am so excited about. This is my new favorite thing. This is weaving. And in the new year, Francesca's looking at bringing in, I think the Ashford Knitter's Loom is what she's talking about bringing into the shop. So if you're interested in getting a small loom, these will be little table looms that are really easy to fold up and take around with you if you do need to go from place to place, or just to set up on your table at home. Let Francesca know, and then you can get on the order list for that. But what I've been doing is, I'm lucky enough that one of my friend's mom had a loom. She never figured out how to use it. It was sitting in her basement. So they let me take it just on a kind of long-term loan. And if her mom ever decides she wants it back, I will teach her how to use it now that I figured it out. But I've been warping it up. And so, I just lost my light there. Sorry about that. So warp is when you set up your loom and you have all the threads tied up already. That's your warp. And then when you actually go in and you're putting yarn back and forth, that's the weft. So my warp are all of the vertical stripes right now, the ones that are going up and down. And you can see that I've got a mix of different fibers. All those colorful ones, those are silk garden, and then all the blue ones in between is some 100% silk that I brought home from Japan a couple years ago. And I got my warp all set up and said, well, okay, I'm not really sure what I'm going to use for my weft, so I'm going to try a bunch of different yarns that I have on hand. So, starting up here at the top, get you in the light, there we go. This blue stuff going back and forth is some more of my Japanese silk. This green is Harrisville. It's the same as the New England Shetland, it's just the worsted weight. This is the Fiddlesticks lace, so it's much, much lighter than the rest of it, but it's quite lovely. These two, the cream and the dark beige, are part of the reason why I'm doing all of Francesca's finishing for a year. She gave me 5 cones of big, giant cones full of what's probably the New England Highland yarn, and I've been happily knitting sweaters and stuff out of that, so now I'm weaving with it. These two are some yarns out of my stash. That's a Silk and Tencel blend, and then the bottom one is some more Silk Garden as the weft. And this is sort of like the weaving equivalent of a swatch. So just, it's called a sample, and you just sit there and play back and forth and see what you like. But my problem is like, I kind of like the plaid now. So I'm probably going to wind up making a giant plaid wrap for myself. And in the meantime, I have a fantastic plaid cowl. If you're on our Facebook page, you would have already seen this because I posted a few photos a couple days ago. If you're not on our Facebook page, you can find us there, facebook.com/3bagsfullcanada, I believe is our site. You can also find us directly on YouTube, also under 3bagsfull Canada. Find us on Twitter, 3BF, or come on into the shop and drop us a line. We are here 7 days a week. I'm here Mondays and Thursdays if you want to come in and show off what you're knitting, and I will take some photos and put it up on our Facebook page. When we get to 200 followers on our Facebook page, we'll do another drawing for a gift certificate. So if you're not there yet, join. If you are already a follower, don't worry about it. Everyone right from follower number 1 is still eligible every time we do one of these draws. So please help us spread the word, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.